My hometown of Ferrisburg, Indiana, has always had a problem with crime. Not robberies or assaults, no, even minor arguments between neighbors are rare here. Ferrisburg's problem has always been with murder, and not just any murder. In Ferrisburg, parents kill their children at a rate more than 50 times the national average. Murder here has become just one of those things that people talk about, falling into the same kinds of conversations where you'd normally be asking about relatives or the football game last night. Nobody really knows why. Some say there's something in the water, some say the town is cursed, and some say that we just happen to have terrible parents here. That's what I thought, at least. Why else would a parent kill a child, even if they were suffering from some mental illness? There's no excuse for that. That is, until the police came to our house to arrest my dad. It was an open and shut case. Sarah, my little sister, had never come home from school. My parents immediately filed a missing persons report, and the police came to our house. 2 detectives with beady eyes and accusing glares. They asked to look around, and my parents obliged. They found all the evidence they needed in my dad's truck. The back seat was covered in Sarah's blood, and there were even a few zip ties with dead skin and hair. The detectives asked if anyone else had been near the truck that day. As soon as he answered no, he was taken away. But my dad did not kill my sister. My mom spent that night sobbing up in her room. I didn't. I went out to where his truck had been parked to look around. The truck had since been towed by the police, but the ground all around where it had been parked was still wet and soggy due to the rain that had come down the night before. I used my phone to look at the ground near the truck. I used my phone's light to look at the ground near the truck and saw a single set of footprints leading off into the woods. Small footprints, just like Sarah's. I followed the trail, occasionally losing it in the underbrush, only to pick it up again when the ground turned back to mud. The night was overcast, and the light coming from my phone was only barely enough to light up the trail. I walked for what must have been a few miles. Eventually, the trail ended at a clearing with a large 3-sided stone structure set in the open. I walked towards it, only to have my eyes drawn back down to the mud again. The small set of footprints were heading right for the structure. I approached the stone structure and tried recording on my phone, but my memory was full. I deleted a few apps to make room and started recording and walked into the building. You've been seeing the video that I took. As you can see, there were various random items scattered inside the place. Umbrellas, flowers, glass shards. I didn't understand the point of it. I tried recording everything I could, but my phone ran out of memory after just a few seconds. Inside a side room, I saw a diary sitting on a shelf. It was Sarah's. I opened it and flipped through it, stopping on a page that had a drawing. It was a drawing of what looked like a dog standing up on 2 legs, walking like a person. The diary said, "I met Mr. Oreo today. He's a nice dog, but he's really big. He talked to me when I was coming home from school. He said so many funny jokes and was so nice. He agreed with me that Janet can't have 2 best friends." I asked him why he walked like a person, but he just told me he didn't know. I flipped forward a few pages to the last entry in the diary. It said, "Mr. Oreo was really mad at me today. I messed up. I told him I'd do it today, but I couldn't. I was in Dad's truck, but the knife looked too sharp. Mr. Oreo tells me it won't hurt, that the knife will feel like a nice massage on the back of my hand, and then we can run away together. When I told him I couldn't do it, he turned scary for a minute. He looked like he got really sick, really bad all of a sudden. I told him that I'd do it tomorrow, though, and then he looked better. That's when I heard a sound coming from outside the building, this deep, guttural growl echoing from the clearing. I stayed hidden in the side room, but I stuck my head out to watch for whatever was approaching. I saw a man dressed in dark clothes walking across the clearing in front of the structure. He was holding something long and thin in his hand, but I couldn't quite make out what it was. He stood still for a moment, then stalked off into the woods. I waited for a few minutes until I was sure he was gone, then started back towards home. When I passed by the spot where he stood, I noticed his prints in the mud. They weren't boot prints like I was expecting. No, the spot where he was standing was marked by a set of deep paw prints, looking to me the same as a wolf. I ran back to my house, Sarah's diary in my hand. I had no idea what to think. The journal wasn't exactly going to clear my dad all on its own, but it wasn't nothing either. I fell asleep uneasy, wondering what kind of animal could convince a little girl to do that to herself. I woke up the next morning for school, the uneasy feeling having only gotten worse. I got ready and left out my front door. When I shut it behind me, it felt strange under my fingers. I turned around to see that the entire door was covered in deep crisscrossing scratches. It looked like somebody had taken a key or screwdriver to the door. I froze. This had to be from whoever was responsible for taking Sarah. I tried to shake myself out of it and headed to school. I spent the rest of the day trying to think of an explanation for the things I'd seen. Maybe Sarah saw a person in a dog mask. Maybe there was a dog walking next to the man in the clearing I'd seen. Maybe a lot of things. I stayed late at school in the library. I didn't want to go home, where the kidnapper was apparently watching me. I spent the time browsing through different forums looking for answers. A few hours after the school day ended, the librarian came up to me to tell me it was time to head home. I wanted to get back to my place as soon as possible, so I cut through my school's gym. I was walking fast, with my eyes down on my phone, searching through a message board for similar stories to mine. I had my hand on the door and was about to push it open when I looked through the window. A creature was standing on the other side of the door, standing deathly still and staring at me through the window. I froze, just watching it in shock. Almost on autopilot, I pointed my phone at it and took a picture. Here it is. It raised a finger and pointed towards the door handle, as if to ask me to open it for him. I turned around and sprinted back towards the library. The librarian called the police, who brought me home where I am now. I don't know what to do now. It can track me. It knows where I live, and it has my sister. If anyone knows anything about this kind of creature, please tell me what I should do. I hope you all enjoyed this story. If you'd like to hear a new one, you can click on the screen now to hear about the experiences of a man who's haunted in a house he's inherited. Otherwise, you can subscribe below to get my weekly videos. And as always, thank you for spending some time on Worchester Street.